Hello, our presentation is on our research project, Redesigning Lives, learning how space impacts residents in support of affordable housing.
I want to introduce my brilliant colleague Shannon Pirie, the acting AD for the Schools of Architectural Technology and Applied Chemical and Environmental Sciences.
And I would like to introduce my brilliant colleague, Bethany Osborne, an educational development consultant at the Center for Teaching and Learning.
We had the privilege of working on an exciting collaboration between the School of Architectural Technology and the School of Community Studies through a circa SSHRC funded research project.
Our research collaboration was born while we were on the picket line in 2017. It was here that we met and discovered that we both had a passion for affordable housing and passive house design. Though the weather was cold and the labor dispute was difficult for all involved, we are very thankful that it brought us together.
The site of our research was Hamilton, Ontario, and an organization called Indwell, who partnered with an architecture firm called Envisage Architects to build supportive, affordable housing. In an era where all levels of government are being criticized for their lack of action during what many consider to be a housing crisis, this team of nonprofit housing developers is creating housing for the most vulnerable in communities across southwestern Ontario.
Our interest as collaborative investigators was in the intersection between design factors that make a good place to live and the building science that we use to construct our buildings. Excuse me. With that in mind, we conducted a site visit to Parkdale Landing, the largest multi-unit passive house dwelling in Ontario, with our team of research assistants from the social service worker and architectural technology programs.
We also conducted a series of interviews with stakeholders, including the contractor, a local politician, a representative from housing at the City of Hamilton, the principal architect, program coordinators, and the project developer in order to understand the approach and model more effectively.
From a physical standpoint, we were interested in the visible and tangible architectural details of the building that elevate its design beyond the functional aspects of architecture, ones that could be considered good design and that put human well being at the forefront.
We also looked at Parkdale Landing from a community building perspective, identifying the design moves that would allow for connection and/or independent living. One of our early key findings is the importance of ensuring dignity for all residents through thoughtful spatial design and the interpretation of what we commonly desire in a home.
In addition to these human centered values, we wanted to see how they correlated with passive house as a building methodology. One hurdle that we often hear of in the design community is the added cost of these super insulated buildings. This led us to ask, should the things that touch humans be compromised in order to put money towards a more sustainable building envelope?
Or do we consider to pursue the path of least resistance, which is to build cheaply at the expense of the environment and ultimately of people? Our preliminary research tells us that we can do both. The passive house standard is one of the most energy conscious metrics for building. And despite it being called passive house, it can be applied to larger buildings as well. Here, you can actually see the small heating and cooling unit installed in this 55 unit building.
In thinking about the data that we collected and the interviews that we conducted, we wanted to further synthesize the material in a way that we could both relate to, being from very different fields of study. We did this by collaborating on collages. Arts based research shows that the interpretation of data through non textual forms favor a reinterpretation of research material and solicits tacit knowledge.
In our research project, we divided our findings into two main sections: cultivating community and relationships and purposeful design. We integrated the collages into the research findings sections. Each of the collages centered around a quotation from one of our research participants.
Central to the theme of cultivating community and relationships was the quote, "Health, wellness, and belonging is something that I think about every day," by research participant Jess Brand. Our data showed us that to create housing within communities and that builds community, relationship building is key.
Graham Cubitt spoke to the importance of purposeful design of services in Indwell's supportive, affordable housing model. If we are the key ring, the other people are the keys. The housing, the stable housing is critical, then everything else can feed in.
In considering the importance of physical design, architect Emma Cubitt spoke to the importance of incorporating elements that contributed to wellness into building design. It's from my lived experience. I've had different levels of anxiety in my own life. It's what I feel comfortable with and believe others will feel comfortable with. End quote.
Another significant aspect of the design was the possibility for autonomy for residents. Henry Skilshouse spoke to the importance of creating spaces that provided an opportunity for dignity and gave those who had been unhoused or institutionalized a space of their own. When we thought about how to make our work available, both of us were committed to open access resources because it provided accessibility to both students and community. We connected with eCampus Ontario and were able to work with them to publish our research report. Our 70-page report can be downloaded at the link we'll share at the end of our presentation.
In addition to the research report, Bethany and I are both makers and artists in our own right. And because of this, we decided to each take the collages one step further by creating pieces of art that are part of many people's homes. I'm a potter, and I've been in the process of creating a porcelain dinnerware set onto which I've transferred the collages. In making these pieces, I get to sit with the information that we've collected and play back the conversations that we have had in order to continue to draw meaning and correlations between placemaking and building science.
Collage and fabric art are art forms that I really enjoy working with. I appreciate the way that different pieces come together. Taking the images and transferring them to fabric gives them new life and purpose. These fabric collage pieces will actually be combined with the porcelain dinnerware set that Shannon's created in the form of a tablecloth and napkins. Our interest was to take the research findings to represent them experientially as a relational piece, a place setting, representing community and home.
We hope to be able to exhibit our collages and table settings once we're back on campus. We're very passionate about research creation as a method of investigation because it invites viewers into the research and allows for their own interpretation of the work. We also find that it's a very great way to collaborate with someone from a different program area. Also, it will help us open an important dialogue with our colleagues and students about the need for more supportive housing in all communities.
We've included a link to our reports on the eCampus Ontario Library on the final slide, and we'd really be happy to talk to you further about our research. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about our research. We'd be happy to have a virtual coffee.
Thank you.